Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to discuss online versus offline. What are some of the differences and what can we expect from the teams? So, first and foremost, for those who don't know, the LCS, the LEC, and also the LPL, they've been playing online for quite some time. What does it mean to play online? Basically, everyone is playing in their own facility, with their own gear, with their own PC. The LPL, I know they have a judge on, like a referee on site, and so forth. And the LEC and the LCS coming into this week are also moving into this direction. So, what does this mean for the sake of competition? Well, obviously, it's going to be different. The key thing for me is habits. So basically, you being at home and you, for example, working from home, for a lot of us, there is a clear difference. When you work in your office, you put yourself in a specific mindset. When you are working at home, it's difficult to mimic that mindset because we associate our habits with environment, with smells, with sounds, and you are not receiving the same kind of what's it called? You're not receiving the same experience when you're at home, so it's sometimes difficult to navigate that experience. And the same thing the players are going to experience. Habits, the first thing that comes to mind is, of course, how you prepare for a game day, how you are, how you behave. This is something that teams will have to map out and try to mimic. For some teams, it's going to be easier. For some teams, it's going to be worse. The example is for last year, Vitality had a very, honestly, for as long as I know, we always had a very poor scrim record because we tended to test limits almost constantly in order to prepare ourselves for stage. And then we kind of had an edge when we played against a lot of teams because we managed to harness our aggression, especially in 2018 that got us to the World Championship. But if we played in the environment, if we played in our gaming house, especially at such a short notice, it would be very difficult for us to shake off those habits of what we do in practice. Sure, it's going to be a bit different because you're actually playing a real game and you can feel it. There's a sense of it when you are in the place. Even from my experience back in my days, I did play online tournaments, I did play offline tournaments, and you could still feel kind of a difference, but not that big of a difference in terms of changing the environment completely. That is the underlying marker here. I mentioned scrims because this could be something very positive for teams that are considered scrim gods. Teams that are rumored to be super strong in scrims are going to now have an easier time of translating that onto stage. Teams that tend to screw around more in scrims and maybe play better on stage are going to also potentially perform worse in this scenario. Because we are no longer in that space where teams need to, get dressed. They need to get dressed, get their gear on. They need to move to the studio, go through the van, go into the studio, meet the casters, see the guard, eat the food. All of these things, they trigger something in you. It's the same thing for me. When I put on a suit, it puts something very specific in my mind because this is how habits work. So the key thing that I recommend to all teams out there is that on game day, they should redesign their gaming room. They should redesign it, meaning, let's say we're all sitting in a row, we're all sitting in a straight line, and then you just make sure that when the players enter on the day and before you play the match, you change everything up, and then maybe you change some smells in there, and then you make that into your match day habit on the day. Especially if you're a team that has poor scrim performances. If you have great scrim performances, of course, you don't change a thing. If you have great scrim performances and you feel that if you can translate that easily onto a stage performance, then that is going to be fantastic for you. But of course, for some teams, this is going to be mute. For some teams, you're still going to have an impact knowing that you're going to play on stage. This is something that differentiates from players to players, but it's still a worry that is deservedly so raised for me in this video. Next point is PC setups and internet. So a lot of players out there, and me included, I've worked with a lot of organizations, and you have complaints about PCs, complaints about internet, and it gets resolved very slowly. Getting PCs in and making sure you have an optimal setup is not something that every team actually has. Sometimes you are playing with lag, sometimes you're playing with poor internet. This is something that you've kind of learn to delve with, because you know there is a light at the end of the tunnel, the 7 ping, the Alienware PCs, and the monster rigs that they have over at the LEC or LCS or whatever. So this is something that also comes to mind, and I think comes to mind of a lot of players. I don't know if this is enough time for players to actually raise the issue. There's also a question of chairs. The chair difference, like in general, the setup, just the setup. The setup is not the same as on stage, and this is something that can be worrisome. But in the end, obviously, players, they practice there, they play scrims there and everything. So I hope by now that they are used to their setup, but it's still something important to raise. There might be a competitive advantage here in having a better internet setup, a better PC setup, unless the players all get the same PCs or something supplied by someone, but I doubt it in such a short notice. So this is a test of organizations. The next thing is, of course, integrity has been addressed, and I don't think there's going to be any problems in terms of the competitive integrity. I have full trust in Riot Games that they will figure this out. I don't have any official information to share on anything, and I have full faith that this is going to be handled properly. And I also don't think that the LEC partners or anyone involved is looking to cheat, because it would just plummet the price of the whole league and also, put everything on blast. So I doubt it's going to happen. I think also the integrity issue is going to be addressed, which is something I'm sure people are asking about. Like, oh, how are they keeping track of players? I'm not sure, but I know I've asked and I know it's going to be handled. Okay, so these are some of the notes, online versus offline. I think the key thing is habits and translating that scrim performance, how that is going to look. Do you have any other things that you want to address, that you want to look at? I think it's a very intriguing topic, because I think there is a clear difference. So if you have any ideas of something that maybe I've missed, maybe something that you have in mind you would like to discuss, post it in the comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts about it. I think it's a very intriguing and interesting topic that we can discuss together. But the big thing that comes to my mind is habits, because that's how I would see it impacting me. I am a very ritual-based person, and every LEC day was a ritual. And now you need to refine the ritual and shake things up. And I think that's going to be key for everyone. Like my game day ritual was, ice cold shower, into Wim Hof breathing exercise, into putting my suit on, into going to meet the players, discussing things with them, going out with them for a physical activation exercise as well, breathing exercise, into going into the van, listening to specific songs as we are moving with the van into the LEC studio. LEC studio, players no phones, boom, we walk in, everyone does their thing, coffee, tea, discussion, we look at the games. Then at a set time, meditation starts, boom, that means it's game time, we're approaching game time. We do final preparation, final discussions for draft. We move into the coach's room next to the stage. We do a little huddle, a little speech. 1, 2, 3, whatever team I'm on, who? Move on to stage, match. Everything is very, very clean and precise, because it puts me in a very, very specific mindset, But some players and some people are not so ritual based. They can adapt to this. And I think we're going to definitely see a difference in performance coming into this week. I don't think this week of a break is big enough for teams to be impacted heavily. I think the key thing that people have discussed is Team Liquid. Are they going to bounce back with this week? Are they getting saved with this 1 week? And I don't think so. I think it's too little. But then again, sometimes it's very hard to see from outside what is wrong with the team, because sometimes when one thing goes wrong, you can't show how many things you're actually good at. Maybe you are reliant on, the dominoes falling in a very specific order in order for you to show what you're capable of. So maybe fixing one issue can be enough for Team Liquid, but based on what we've seen so far, I think it's going to take a lot more than just a week to recover Team Liquid's state if we discuss them in the contrast of winning the whole split, because that's the only reason we are shocked by Team Liquid's performance now. Are they going to win the split or not? And right now it's looking very, very grim, and I don't think 1 week is enough to save that. With that being said, I'm excited. Please leave comments below, join the discussion. I'm curious about what you guys think about online versus offline. In my experience, it is vastly different, but I think it also differentiates from person to person. Thank you very much. Have a good one. If you sneeze during this video, bless you and bless your face. Peace.